Plymouth, Massachusetts, on November 11, 1744. I am the wife of John Adams and the mother of John Quincy, Charles, Susanna, Abigail, Thomas Bolslin, and Elizabeth Adams. I was concerned about social and political issues. I thought that women did not get enough rights or respect. I became First Lady on March 4, 1797 to March 4, 1801. I thought that women should get a formal education and have a vital role in the Republic just like men. I became good friends with Martha Washington. I did not like slavery. I died on October 28, 1818 of typhoid fever, just before my son, John Quincy Adams, became president. I was 73 years old when I died. I am buried beside my husband in a crypt in Quincy, Massachusetts. My last words were, "Do not grieve, my friend, my dear friend. I am ready to go. And John, it will not be long."
My name is Baron Steuben. You probably know me because I was a general in the Revolutionary War. One day, when I heard that Benjamin Franklin was in Paris, I really wanted to go, so I went. Once I got there, the French Minister of War made me an officer and sent me straight to meet General Washington. I really wanted you to know that I was born at a fortress named Mageburg Fortress, and that when I died at a bachelor in 1794.
Hello, my name is Benedict Arnold. I was born on January 14, 1741 in Norwich, Connecticut. I attended school at Canterbury. While there, some of my siblings died of yellow fever. Without money, I was withdrawn from school. My mother died in 1759 and my father did the same 2 years later. I married Margaret Mansfield in 1767. A few years later, the U.S. was officially at war with England. I received permission from the Massachusetts Department of Safety to capture Fort Ticonderoga. Along the way, I met Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys. We were both after the same prize of capturing Fort Ticonderoga. We captured Fort Ticonderoga together with no effort. When Allen wrote to Congress, he didn't mention me in the letter at all. I ran away in the night and joined another troop. Later, I was the only volunteer to capture Fort Schuyler, and I accomplished this feat by tricking the British into thinking that there were hundreds of thousands of troops heading towards the fort, when really I only had less than 1,000 with me. The British evacuated, and we had the fort to ourselves. But then my general, General Gates, didn't give me any credit in the matter at all. I got so angry, I ran away and started bargaining with the British Army. I eventually joined the British Army, but then I got injured a few years into my career with the British, and I had to stop fighting. I died in 1801, virtually unknown, and my wife joined me 3 years later.
Good afternoon, children. I am Betsy Ross. I was born January 1st, 1752 to my parents Sam and Rebecca Griscom. My family called me Betsy, but my real name was Elizabeth. Me and my family were Quakers. Quakers were a religious group of people who believed in living simply. During my lifetime, I married 3 men. Their names were John Ross, Joseph Ashburn, and John Lee Poole. As you know, I did make the first American flag. I made the American flag at the request of George Washington, George Ross, and Robert Morris. I also suggested the 5-pointed star instead of Washington's design with the 6-pointed star. I died on January 30th, 1836.
Hello, my name is Deborah Simpson. I was the oldest out of 6 children. I was a former teacher and servant at the age of 19. I dressed like a man, cut my hair, and I hid my body shape to join the Continental Army. I was wounded 3 times as a soldier named Robert Shirtley. I went to the doctor with a fever, and the doctor discovered that I was a female. The Continental Congress put me out of the Continental Army. I carried on with the lecture tour of my life.
Hello, my name is Francis Lightfoot Lee. Francis Lightfoot Lee was born on a farm in Westmoreland County, Virginia. He was born on October 14, 1734. He was raised at Stratford Hall Plantation. He had a brother named Richard Henry Lee. Francis was tutored by a man named Dr. Craig. He later moved to Loudoun County. He was a chief of the local militia. Francis Lightfoot Lee married a 16-year-old girl named Rebecca Taylor when he was in his 30s. Rebecca's father had 8 daughters. Her father's name was John Taylor II. Rebecca and Francis moved away to Richmond County. Francis was elected to the Virginia legislature. He served as a Virginia conventions in 1774 and 1775. Francis served in the House of Burgesses. Francis Lightfoot Lee had a nickname. It was Frank. Frank soon became associates with Thomas Jefferson and Patrick Henry. Frank really liked library discussions and background strategy. Frank also has a younger brother named Arthur. In September 1776, Frank went to Philadelphia as a delegate to the Second Continental Congress. When he was 3, he joined forces with her brother Richard Henry. They were well respected. In the summer of 1776, Frank and his brother were the only brothers in a group of 56 delegates to sign the Declaration of Independence. After that, Frank went back to Virginia to continue his political career. In 1785, Frank was able to forsake politics with delight. He wanted to get back to Rebecca to raise his brother William's daughter. Frank spent his free days reading, farming, and enjoying the quiet. This is a little information about Francis Lightfoot Lee. Francis Lightfoot Lee died on January 11, 1796.
My name is George Washington. I was born February 22nd, 1732 in Westland County, Virginia. At age 11, my father died. I didn't have formal schooling, so I taught myself to be an expert at woodsman, map maker, and a surveyor. I was married to Martha. She had 2 kids, Jackie and Patsy, but they weren't my kids. I had false teeth made of ivory and hippopotamus tusks. I died December 1st, I think. December 1st, 1999, and I asked Betsy Ross to make the flag for me during the war.
Hello, I'm John Adams. I was born on October 30th, 1735. When I was young, I liked to make little boats and send them down the stream behind my house. Sometimes I would kill birds in the marsh, even when I was supposed to be in school. You probably know me for being the 2nd President of the United States, but when I was President, I made some very dramatic errors, like accepting laws that nobody really liked. I wasn't a very popular president. In court, I defended the British for starting the Boston Massacre. I also won the case. The court decided that the British attacked to keep self-defense. I also signed the Declaration of Independence. When I went to college, I started to really like to read. I also like to speak. With my talent for speaking, a lot of people said that I should be a lawyer, so that's what I did. I had my office in a small building my dad left for me when he died. I married a nice and smart woman named Abigail Smith. When we first met each other, I called her Miss Adorable. Now you probably know my son, John Quincy Adams. He was the 6th President of the United States. I had a total of 6 kids: Abigail, John Quincy, Charles, Susanna, Thomas, and Amelia. In 1818, Abigail, my wife, died. She was 73 years old. I was sad and lonely, so I read, and one New Year's Day, I sent a letter to my old pal, Thomas Jefferson. He sent me a letter back. I told him that while I breathe, I shall be your friend. I died on July 4th, 1826. That was our country's 50th birthday.
Hi, I'm John Hancock. I was the signer of the Declaration of Independence. For a living, I was the city leader of Boston and the governor of Massachusetts a total of 9 times. I was also a leader of the Sons of Liberty group along with Samuel Adams. I was born on January 12, 1737 in the town of Braintree, Massachusetts. I grew up with my friends being John Adams, Edmund Quincy, and Samuel Quincy. In 1744, when my father died, my grandfather took me to live in his house, but my Uncle Thomas decided to take me to his house where he lived in Boston. Uncle Thomas Hancock was one of the richest men in all of the colonies. So when he died in 1764, I inherited all of his wealth and all of his belongings. On August 28, 1775, I married a young widow named Dolly Quincy in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On October 8, 1793, I died in Boston after living 56 years of age. My role in the Revolution was that I protested on being ruled by the king. I drove King George III so crazy that I was charged with treason, which was so serious that if I were caught, I could be hung. I also signed the Declaration of Independence, which was important because the Declaration was one of the most, if not the most important documents in U.S. history. Also, I signed my name so large on the Declaration because I wanted people to know that I wanted liberty, the king to know that I wanted liberty really, really badly. And that is what I am famous for.
Hi, I'm John Marshall. I was born on September 5th, 1745. And later on in my life, I married Elizabeth Potter, daughter of William Potter, on April 11th, 1803. When I was in office, I was Officer of Revolution, Congressman, and Secretary of State. But later in my life, on July 15th, I died on 1835.
Hi, my name is John Paul Jones. I was born in Scotland in 1747. My legal birth name was John Paul, but whenever I sailed to the colonies at age 12 as a ship boy, I changed my name to John Paul Jones. I was the first officer on the Alfred, the flagship of the Continental Navy, in December 1775. After that, I owned a plantation in Philadelphia, but I changed my name to go to that place too. It was either Paul Jones or John Jones. But whenever that didn't work out, I enlisted in the Army again, where I had my biggest battle yet. There was two ships against the surface. It was two ships against the surface, a British warship. It was a Bonhomme Richard against the Alliance against the surface. The Bonhomme Richard eventually sunk because it had too many holes in it. But before that, Captain John Paul Jones had won the fight with him. So but they all got aboard the ship before the ship sunk. So then, after they had got on, the captain of the British ship held out his sword because he surrendered. Then, after that, whenever he gave the sword to him, then John Paul Jones gave it back and said, "Let's go in my cabin and have some tea." He died in France. He died in Paris, France in 1792, just 12 days after, I think it was his 29th birthday.
Hi, I'm John Quincy Adams. I was born on July 11th, 1767. I was born in Braintree, Massachusetts. That is a very strange name. When I was only 10, my father took me to Europe. Shortly 3 years later, Francis Dana, a very important diplomat, took me with him to Russia because I spoke French fluently. They didn't speak French in Russia, but at the time, French was the language of diplomats. In 1825, I became the 6th president. When I was elected, my friends gave me some advice. They said that I should fire James Monroe's appointees and hire all of my own. My advisors were getting worried because the Monroe Association had backed Andrew Jackson in the 1824 election, so I lost to him. I was the first president to get the picture taken. At the time, it was made out of copper plates covered in silver iodine that had to be exposed to sunlight. They couldn't be messed with for 20 minutes because it would come out bad.
Hello, my name is Joseph Warren. I was born in Roxbury, Massachusetts. I was born on the date of June 11, 1741. In 1765, I joined the militia. There, I met and became friends with Samuel Adams and John Hancock. After a few years of being a soldier, I was promoted to general. In the war, I was one of the major generals. My father was named Joseph also. My mother was named Mary. At age 34, I died from a gunshot. I was shot on Bunker Hill. I married Elizabeth Luton on September 6, 1764. I was called a true patriot. My life was very different.
I am Mary Ludwig Hayes McGoley, known as Molly Pitcher. I was born October 13, 1754. At the age of 15, I moved to Carousel, Pennsylvania to work for Dr. Ivany. I soon then quit and married John Casper Hayes and followed him into war. Soldiers started calling me Molly Pitcher when I fetched cold water for the heated men. One very hot day, my husband collapsed during the Battle of Monmouth because of the heat. I dropped my pitcher of water and loaded and shot cannons for the rest of the battle. After the battle, George Washington met up with me and thanked me for my courage. After the war, I had a baby boy, and 5 years later, my husband died. I then worked as a servant for the rest of my life. I died January 22, 1832.
Hello, my name is James Madison. I was born on March 16, 1751 in Conway, Virginia. I have one of the biggest jobs in the entire United States. I'm the 4th president. Before I became president, I had one of the biggest roles in the American Revolution. I not only served in the military, I wrote the Constitution and signed the Bill of Rights. I got married to Dolly Todd Madison and had no kids together, but Dolly had one son. I'm a very talented person. I went to college at the College of New Jersey. My jobs are, I was in the Virginia House of Delegates, I was in the military, I was president, I was in Congress, I was a legislator, and I was a U.S. representative. I was in office for 2 terms. I dragged the U.S. into the war with India and France. On June 18, 1812, I declared war with the British, which is now known as the War of 1812.
My name is James Lawrence Monroe. I was born April 28, 1758 in Virginia. I graduated from the College of William and Mary and then went to fight in the Continental Army. I'm the one holding the flag in that famous painting of Washington crossing the Delaware. I was elected to the Virginia House of Delegates in 1782. I served in the Continental Congress. I married Elizabeth Courtwright on February 16, 1786. In 1790, I was elected U.S. Senator. Then I was appointed Minister of France. I was elected Governor of Virginia in 1799. President Jefferson sent me to France to assist with Louisiana Purchase. I served as Secretary of State from 1811 to 1814. I was made Secretary of War in 1814. For a while, I actually held both posts. I was the 5th President of the United States. I served from 1817 to 1825. My presidency was known as the era of good feeling. I am best known for the Monroe Doctrine. While I was president, Mississippi, Alabama, Illinois, Maine, and Missouri became states. My presidency ended March 4, 1825. My wife died in 1830. I moved to New York City to live with my daughter Maria and her husband Samuel L. Governor. I developed tuberculosis and died from heart failure on July 4, 1831. First, I was buried in New York, but 27 years later, they moved me to the President's Circle at the Hollywood Cemetery in Richmond, Virginia. In 1824, the capital city of Liberia was renamed Monrovia in my honor.
Hello, I'm Phyllis Wheatley, and I am a poet. My first book was published in 1767. I'm the first African-American poet. I wrote my last poem in 1784, celebrating how hard America won liberty at the end of the Revolutionary War. It was called Liberty and Peace. I'm known as the mother of black literature in the USA.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Rush. I was born on December 24, 1745 in Byberry, Pennsylvania. My parents' names are John and Susanna Rush. I have 7 brothers and sisters, and I went to college in New Jersey. I went to college to be a professor in medical theory. And I signed the Declaration of Independence. I died when I was 68 from a brief illness in 1813.
My name is Paul Revere. I was born in 1734. I was born in Massachusetts. I was the one who warned the Patriots about that the British Army was coming. I married a girl in 1757. I met a girl named Sarah Oron. We had 8 kids, and she died in 1773. I then married a girl named
I'm Samuel Adams. I was born on September 27, 1727. I was a patriot. I had 11 other brothers and sisters. I went to Harvard. I went to study philosophy and history. I had a job as a banker, but lost it for being too much into politics and too little into banking. Me and my friends started this newspaper called The Public Advertiser. I married Elizabeth Checkley. We had 6 kids together, but only 2 survived, Samuel and Hannah. I'm against taxes. I was elected to Massachusetts Assembly. Me and James Otis organized the Stamp Act Congress. I fought the Townsend Act. I want the British troops out of Boston. I went to the Continental Congress in Philadelphia. I was warned with Paul Revere that General Gage and his troops were coming to arrest me and John Hancock. I signed the Declaration of Independence. The Treaty of Paris was signed by the British. I was elected to State Senate, Governor, and Lieutenant Governor. I was remarried to Elizabeth Bessie Wells because my dear wife, Elizabeth Checkley, had passed away.